the master as an excuse for why he wasn't going to use what the master gave him. Well, Jesus, you didn't, help me and give me more opportunity. God, you didn't put me in position. I would have done it if I wasn't so afraid. You should have took my fear away. It would have been different if I had this in place or that in place or didn't have these problems. This slave not only took the talent and didn't treasure it, but then used Jesus as the excuse for why he didn't treasure it. What's up, YouTube family? It's Jonathan Evans here, and I got a good one for you. We're talking about the reasons why you need to treasure your talents. Listen, you need to treasure your talents. We have all been given talents by God. We have all been given gifts and skills and ability that God has given us. How do you know that you have a talent? Well, first of all, because other people speak about your talent. Other people will affirm and tell you over and over again and they won't even know each other. You'll be in different settings and people will keep affirming the same thing. That means that's something that God has given you as a talent. But another reason you know it's your talent is because it's something that you are a natural in. It's something that comes to you easy. It's something that you have to expound on, but it's natural to you because God gave it to you. It's something when you start singing, you own key and you sound good and people are listening. You can tell when something's not your talent because you're trying to be something you're not. But when it is your talent, you're just being who you are. And then other people are affirming that talent. But a lot of people have talents that get affirmed. A lot of people have talents that are natural to them because God gave it to them. But a lot of people who have those talents don't treasure those talents. What do I mean? They don't use those talents and allow reasons like fear, anxiety, self-reflection on what they believe about themselves, no matter what God has revealed to them, to determine whether they treasure the talent, even though they have the talent. Don't you know that you can have talents that you don't treasure? Don't you know that you can have valuable things that you don't think are that valuable? Don't you know that you can look down on things that you should be looking up to? There are a lot of people that don't treasure some of the things that are treasures in their life. And one of those treasures is your talent. You got to use it because it will make room for you. But I want you to remember that there is a parable in the Bible about these talents. In Matthew 25, starting at verse 14 and going to 29. And just to surmise it for you, Jesus had 3 slaves. The master, it says, but that's the king, had 3 slaves. One slave he gave 5 talent, the other slave he gave 2 talent, and another slave he gave 1 talent. Immediately, the one who had 5, he went out and used his talents to build upon that, and he got 5 more. The one who got 2, he used his talents to go build upon that and got 2 more. The one who had 1, he put his talent in the dirt. He just dug a hole, put the talent in the dirt, and he used the excuse in verse 25, I'm afraid. I was afraid because you were a hard man, and I didn't want to make a mistake. I didn't want to mess up. I would rather be cautious. I didn't want to do anything with the talent that I had. And then in verse 26 of Matthew 25, Jesus says, you wicked and lazy slave. Oh, how you not going to treasure your talent? How you going to tell me, I knew you were a hard man that sows where you didn't reap and all of those kind of things and make all these excuses and talk about your fear. I gave you a talent. You know how valuable a talent is? And you going to dig a hole and put it in the dirt and tell me that fear is the reason and try to use me as an excuse? Now you know it's bad when he used the master as an excuse for why he wasn't going to use what the master gave him. Well, Jesus, you didn't, help me and give me more opportunity. God, you didn't put me in position. I would have done it if I wasn't so afraid. You should have took my fear away. It would have been different if I had this in place or that in place or didn't have these problems. This slave not only took the talent and didn't treasure it, but then used Jesus as the excuse for why he didn't treasure it. I would have been hot if I was the master. And Jesus is hot with a lot of us. Because not only do we not treasure what he's given us, we'll try to use God as an excuse for why we're not treasuring the talent that he gave us. Making it like he needs to do more. No, God gives the material. It's your job to build the house. God didn't build your house. People built your house from God's material. He gave you the raw materials and he gives you the tree. and tells you to build the furniture. He's given you your talent. Now you go treasure it. You had a slave of the master. He's a slave of the master. He dug a hole in the ground and he just took the safe route. I'll tell you why in a moment. But I want you to notice a few things. Number one, like I said, God gives you the material, but you got to build the house. So that's the expectation. You have what you need. Ephesians 1 said, everything has been given to you in heavenly places. Okay? It's already done. You have it. Number two, he didn't give us all the same, but he expects the same from all of us. Each slave got a different amount of stuff, talents. He didn't give to everybody the same, but he still expects the same from everybody. He still expects you to treasure what he gave you. So he gives you the raw material and he expects you to build the house. Now, you may not have as much material as somebody else, but he still expects you to build something. He expects you to do the best with what you have. Number three, you're going to be judged on what you did with what you got. He says the one who had 5 got 5 more. He said, well done, my good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. Now I'm going to make you ruler over many. The one who had 2 talents, who got 2 more, Jesus said the exact same thing to him. He didn't say nothing different. He didn't throw a party for the first one and kind of sort of party for the second one. No, he said, well done, my good and faithful servant. For you were faithful over a few things. Now I'm going to make you ruler over many. He makes an equal statement to both, even though they were given different because they gave equal effort. Then the third slave. What did the third slave get? Who played it safe, didn't treasure his talent, who dug a hole, who was blaming it on Jesus for why he didn't do what he could have done with the little that he had. You wicked and lazy slave. Now see, this is a strong statement. It is a strong statement for him to call him wicked. Now, I can see him being lazy, but why wicked? What makes this slave wicked and not just lazy that he dug it in the dirt and didn't? This slave was playing a game. You see, the master left. He said, I'm going to give my slaves talents and I'm going to roll out. And this slave thought to himself, well, let me do it this way. I'm going to bury my talent in the dirt. So if the master returns, I can at least give him what he gave me. But if the master doesn't return, I can take what he gave me. Ooh. Okay, hold on. See, people don't get this because the master says, go read the story. The master says, you wicked and lazy slave, you could have at least put my money in the bank because there it would have at least gained interest. So the slave didn't even put the money in the bank. Why? Because if he puts the money in the bank, he would not be able to withdraw it for himself because it is not his talent. He would have had to put it in the master's account. And so he put it in the dirt so that he could retrieve it just in case the master does not return. Some of us are not just lazy. You're wicked. Why aren't you using your talent for the king? Why won't you put it in his account? Well, because just in case this Jesus returning thing isn't real, at least I would have lived my life for myself. But if it is real, I'll do just enough to give him back the bare minimum of what he gave me. Many of us are the third slave. You don't treasure your talent. And the reason why you don't treasure your talent is because you're wicked, not just lazy. Some people are lazy or fearful, or they have other issues that make them bury their talent and not treasure it. But some people are wicked because they really don't believe their master will return and hold them accountable for the talent that he gave them. That was the problem with the third slave. Or you can at least put it in the master's account because there it can gain interest. Listen, there's 5 reasons you need to treasure your talent. because that's the only way you're going to take his material and build his calling for your life. Even though he didn't give you what so-and-so had, he just expects the same effort with what he gave you. You're going to be judged on what you did with what you have. Do you believe he will return? If you believe he will return, ooh, that shifts and changes how you move in your life, doesn't it? And judgment is coming for all the slaves. Not just the ones who do well, not just the ones who do bad, all of them. 2 Corinthians 5:10, Paul says, "For we all will be recompensed for our good and bad, what we did for the kingdom or what we buried for ourselves." Okay? The judgment for believers. 2 Corinthians, he's talking to Corinthians, he's talking to believers. Paul said, "For we all," he's not talking about sinners, he's talking about believers. So believers will be judged in the context of what they did to advance the kingdom or what they did to just bury all their talents in the dirt, which means they weren't using them to advance the kingdom. It's not a condemnation. There is therefore no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus. It's not a condemnation type of judgment, but boy, there's going to be some people that are at that judgment seat biting their nails and clicking their teeth because they would have known, oops, the master returned and I have nothing to show. Today, I hope you're encouraged. People have been telling you what your talent is for a long time. Comes pretty easy to you too. It's natural. It may make you nervous. You may have fear. You may have doubt. You may have some of those other things. But remember, he's coming. And that's the talent he chose to give you. Treasure it. Be steadfast, unmovable, always abound in the work of the Lord, and know that it will not go in vain. Listen, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, become part of the family. Can't wait to see you next time. Let's go. What's up, YouTube family? Listen, we just talked about treasuring your talents, okay? Make sure you leave a comment because I get into those to make sure we're learning from each other. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, become a part of the family, get notified. We want to make sure that we continue to grow together. Let's go.